Welcome to the Paranormal Stakeout radio TV show with Larry Lawson. As a former career law enforcement officer and law enforcement educator, Larry focuses on the use of tried and true law enforcement investigative techniques in conducting paranormal investigations. Despite his experience and training, Larry also keeps an open mind to discussions on topics that deal with evidence that are not quite as physical in nature. Paranormal Stakeout guests are professionals in the field of the paranormal and parapsychology, conducting the investigations and research needed to further the cause of paranormal study. Larry advocates an agenda of standardization of structure and training in the field of paranormal investigation and research for the purpose of one day being able to produce the evidence needed to convince a jury of the existence of the paranormal. Whether it is ghosts, UFOs, unsolved mysteries, hauntings or cryptids, no topic is beyond the investigative reach of Larry Lawson and the Paranormal Stakeout radio TV show team. Now, here is the host of the Paranormal Stakeout radio TV show, Larry Lawson.
And hello, everyone. Welcome back to Paranormal Stakeout. I'm your host, Larry Lawson, coming to you from beautiful Vero Beach, Florida, where the sun always shines. Well, at least most of the time. It's been shining a lot lately. I'd like to talk about how hot it is down here all the time, but everybody's got it this summer. So I hope all of you out there are doing well. Want to welcome all of our viewers, all of our friends joining us tonight, particularly those on the CanCom Broadcast Network. So happy to have you here with us tonight. And I've got quite the guest tonight, and I'm very, very excited to bring her on. Abby LYNN, after a career in television production, writing, and broadcast journalism, Abby embraced her lifelong gifts of spiritual communication and connection to open doors beyond the veil and guide others on their paths to healing and transformation. A Reiki Master and seasoned storyteller, Abby integrates her expertise as a TV producer and journalist to share transformative experiences with global audience. Whether teaching, channeling, or healing, her mission is to inspire or empower others to connect with their higher selves and explore the multidimensional realms. With that, Abby, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Larry. Thank you for having me.
Son, you're up there in the beautiful Charleston area, and I know for a fact you're warm up there also.
Yeah. So I usually don't record my videos in this room, but my space, the furnace broke, and it is currently 88 degrees in that room. So I had to quickly move and makeshift this area for this evening.
Well, please, everybody, be careful. It is the heat out there is just destroying everybody. So please be careful. Well, you've got quite the resume, Abby. Television, gift of the psychic abilities. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you went from A to B.
It was, actually, it wasn't as interesting of a journey. It was a very nice, easy flow. But I often talk about it was a life tapped in. So I was experiencing paranormal from the time I was a toddler, whether it be spirit in my home or the UFOs outside. So, at the age of 4 and 5, I was already telling my parents about how I went up into a ship that evening, and I remembered it. I remembered going, and the thing I loved most, I lived in the Appalachian Mountains. And so I remember as a toddler going up, and I was finally able to see from the tippy tops of the evergreens, because they were so massive when I was a child, and I could finally see and look down on top of them. But those were always very positive experiences for me. The ones that I could remember were positive. There were other ones that were not positive. Those were the evenings where I was being quote unquote taken. But because I had those experiences and I had the experiences with spirit, that's what led me into journalism. I had a very curious mind because I was always looking for a way to explain my life to other people. And so, and understanding journalism, knowing, well, if journalists have special rights at times to go in and find and to research files, and you can get behind doors and in certain meetings. And so I'll use my journalism to get and to interview people and get into other places. So that was what led me into the journalistic field, and just having that curious mind. But it's the curious mind that a natural born psychic medium has. We don't live in this carefully constructed box. We live very far outside of it. And just like, your intro, it's always asking questions, right? And accepting that there could be more to the story or more happening than what meets the eye. So that's how it led me going into journalism. And I worked in television for a few years in the newsroom, and but that just wasn't the place for me. So I ended up leaving that. And actually then I became a full-time stay-at-home mom, a full-time mom with my children. But my kids, it's born, it's through the lineage. They were all tapped in from an early age of toddlers. So we had a very busy household. I joked with my husband that, to know that I had experience is one thing, but to actually live with me was another. So.
Well, aren't all moms psychic? They've got the eyes in the back of their head. They see everything anyway.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, I do say everybody has the potential for their natural intuition and to be psychic. It's all within us to do that. It's just whether or not you're willing to trust what the body is already telling you. The body is this magnificent communication tool that we have, but it's whether we really come into a space of trusting that and then acting on it. How many people have you met, even within your criminal justice of the victims of, like maybe if a woman was taken, how many times have they said, oh, my gut was telling me not to go, but I went anyways. That is our natural God-given intuition that we have. So I love, now helping people to further embrace that, to where they would never question those knowings within themselves.
Interesting. I've been told that myself. I have friends, who have the gift, who say, everybody can do this. You can do this. Well, I wanted to be a pilot. I would have loved to fly on fighter jets.
Yeah.
I can probably guide a Cessna around a little bit, but I don't have the ability to fly a jet. It just wasn't in my realm. So is it possible that, yes, everybody's got somewhat of an ability, but just other folks can throw that 100-mile-an-hour fastball where folks like me can maybe hit 70? Am I making sense?
You are. James Van Praagh actually stated it beautifully. Everyone can learn how to play the piano, but not everyone's going to be Beethoven.
My point exactly.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Absolutely.
So you go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you can throw that 100-mile-an-hour fastball is my point.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can. Yeah. And I've seen it enough within my clients that I will say it is extremely rare. I haven't seen it where a medium just pops up into a family bloodline out of nowhere. It's traveled down through the lineage, whether grandma was a medium or, the great aunt was a medium. Someone within that bloodline had those abilities, just like you said, to throw that 100-mile pitch, and it is awakened and it works within that person. It actually, in working with dimensional beings, they have really helped me understand the importance of bloodlines, and what they mean by that is, in order to tap into certain levels of frequencies, which they're operating and communicating and or being visible by our eyes to, the body and the blood needs to be able to also resonate at a certain frequency and still be able to be withheld within this physical body. So your lineage and the blood type actually does matter in that regards, in that it is through the bloodline they've had these abilities, and the body can sustain that level of vibrating to reach those pitches to where you are able to see spirit, you are able to communicate with them, especially some of these higher frequency beings.
Interesting. Well, this is an awful lot to unpack for this 1-hour show. Hopefully we can get through most of it. You also have some experience in remote viewing, correct?
Yes, very limited, but yes, I have. I trained to do remote view I have worked with just a couple cases with special forces, special ops with remote viewing, where they've given me 1 or 2 words and they just want me to remote view into that. But the remote viewing that I was taught was where they give you a series of 5 to 6 numbers and that's all you have.
I've talked to several people that have received training in remote viewing. Most of them have been military, but there are folks out there that were trained outside of the military.
Yeah.
Who does that training?
So I trained with an individual named John Vivanco.
Mm-hmm.
I believe he's still offering training there. So he worked for the government for a time being, but as you know, sometimes you get to a certain point where you almost become too good and then you become a target yourself. So he stepped away from working with the government. And so he teaches spiritual remote viewing. So not within the military. I was strongly guided to not seek out a government site to train with my remote viewing just
Mm-hmm.
because of my abilities. They said to go this route. So I trained with John.
Okay. So remote viewing is a teachable ability, or is it one of those things, again, most people can do a little bit of it, but only the people with the right talent can actually, okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Explain how, if I can word this correctly, how you remote view. What do you see? What do you experience? And what is it you do with it?
So again, I can only offer up how it works for me. So for anyone listening, take it with a grain of salt. This is how it looks and feels for myself. When I am talking and communicating with spirit and or dimensional energies, in my mind, I go up. So I vibrate and expand my auric field, going very wide, and my frequency is, I'm going up high in order to reach them, to communicate. When I remote view, I go, if anyone has had a past life regression or a quantum hypnosis session, to me, that feels like going under. So you go into that theta brainwave, which is, that's right in between wake and sleep. So it almost feels like you're in that very calm lull within the mind. Mm-hmm. And through that, when I remote view, I'm a very highly visual person. So when I'm remote viewing, I get visuals first. And when you're trained remote viewing, you are taught certain symbols. And the main thing is to just start writing down everything. And again, this is how John taught it. Every single thing, if you're getting a color, if you're getting a sound, a smell, a sight, write everything down. Don't try to make sense of it. Because so often when we are immediately trying to tell a story or make sense of something, that's when we start getting back up to that, into those alpha brainwaves, and essentially like our ego steps in, right? So like, no, I want to make sense of this, and it's popping you out. So you just want to stay into that theta brainwave and just write everything down. And then another part that he trained was, so you do a first swipe at it. Then you drop a pen. So like you literally drop your pen and you start from scratch again and you re-enter the scene. And again, you're writing. So you take 3 to 5 swipes at something. And each time you're going in, you're looking a little bit deeper. You're seeing what else you can find there. And then you come around and you try to see what's lining up.
Great. And unfortunately, we've got to take our first break. This is already going very, very quickly, but we're going to delve more into what you do with remote viewing and what your purpose for that is. And we'll do that in just a minute, folks. So stay with us. We'll be back after these messages.
Are you looking for handcrafted quality that will stand the test of time? At Benchland Woodworking, beautiful wood creations are built with skill, passion, and attention to detail. From custom furniture and home decor to unique handcrafted pieces, every project is designed to bring warmth, character, and lasting beauty to your home. Whether you're searching for a one-of-a-kind gift or a custom piece made just for you, Benchland Woodworking delivers craftsmanship you can see and quality you can trust. Visit benchlandwoodworking.ca. Benchland Woodworking, handcrafted quality, timeless design, built to last. That's benchlandwoodworking.ca.
And we are back with my guest, Abby Lynn. Fascinating subject. And as I said, we've got so much to unpack tonight, but I'd like to know, how long did it take you to train to do remote viewing, and what do you do with it? What's your purpose for it? If you're not looking at missile sites in another country, what is your reason for doing it?
Now, Grant, I added, I haven't done remote viewing for a while, but one place that I did use remote viewing for is I worked with the FBI through a third party. So not directly, but I was working through somebody for the FBI for a missing persons case.
Mm-hmm.
And through that, I was able to see where the body was. I was able to see through this person's eyes the events, how they passed away, and the perpetrators who took them. This was a young child. So I was able to use remote viewing to aid in that. And fortunately, they were able to find her and find the same two people, and they were exactly how it was shown to me what they looked like. So for that case, it can be beneficial. I've also done it when, working with archaeological sites. That's a good way to remote view. I do that, not through those steps, but when I have the ability, and it's where I'm going with my career now, I can go into these certain areas that are extremely historical. I call them sacred sites. And it just begins to fill in how it used to look. And I can see it, and I can see people moving about, and I can get some messages from there. And if they're singing in the background, I can hear a song that they would have sang. So that's another way that I do remote viewing in my own personal life, but I call it active remote viewing. I'm actually there viewing it, but from 2,000 years ago.
Gotcha. Now, this is kind of interesting to me, because my understanding, and I admit it's somewhat limited, of remote viewing is it actually puts you in a place other than where you are right now, and you're seeing it real time. But It sounds like you're also using your psychic ability, your mediumship ability, to contact the other side in the case of this homicide that occurred.
Yes.
How did you find the law enforcement officers?
So the person who I was working with, who was special ops military, they contacted him. And because he knew my abilities, he contacted me. That's why I say I work through a third party. So he put me on the case, and I gave him the information, and then he shared it.
So basically the cops called you.
Essentially, yeah. The special, yeah. Because
third party.
Yes, yeah.
That's interesting, because I get this question a lot. Do folks in law enforcement take what mediums have to say seriously? And I think it's changing. I think it's happening more and more. And that's kind of what I was getting at, that in this particular case, law enforcement reached out to you through a third party.
Yes. But I will say, though, I would love to do a lot more of that work, but that's the only case that I have received in a number of years in order to do that. I think that in my view, whether it be, so you introduce, I do energy healing, and both of my sisters are doctors. I believe that we all deserve a seat around the table. And even with law enforcement, we all deserve a seat around that table, because every little bit can help. If somebody can add one little piece to that puzzle, it can help. So why are we excluding these people?
And that's been happening since the beginning of all this. How are we going to change that, Abby? How is that going to?
It takes, for me, it takes meeting people in person, seeing that you are someone of integrity, you are someone of high ethics. For me, one of the most important things with this work that I do is the ethics. I think that this field with mediumship and psychic, there are massive amounts of just fraud running rampant throughout that.
Okay.
And so a number of my colleagues are really trying to step up and more so claim the ethics back within this. The same thing with journalism. The ethics were the top of my priority while I was, and that's why I left the newsroom. That's why I left journalism, because there were no longer ethics there, and I wouldn't remain. So, but it needs to happen. There was a case where I was working with a physician. This patient had gone to the physician. They had gone to a therapist, like maybe something isn't helping me within my body because there's too many emotions going on. So they went to the therapist. They couldn't find it. So they called me in, and I did an energy healing. And because of what the body told me, what was going on in the body, it made sense why nothing that the doctor was doing was working yet, because there was an issue that hadn't even been thought of in the body. And once we removed that issue, then everything that the doctor was prescribing would work. So in the therapy, that would come later down the road. So in that, for instance, it made sense why we all needed a seat at that table to help the patient.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Now, I couldn't agree with you more about ethics. I'm sure you've explained how it's happened in your field. Certainly things like this go on in the paranormal research field because people make claims they can't come through with and make promises they can't keep. And if we all deserve a seat at the table, and this is a question I really I'm really searching for an answer for, not just from you, but for anybody. How do we get there? How do we get to a point where people act? And when I say ethically, I don't mean necessarily that they're actually trying to do something wrong, but they may be doing something in a wrong way that's harming other folks. And how do we get around that? How do we get everybody at this table to sing from the same page?
Well, I have met a few people that are at that table. And what I've kind of discovered with that is, at least within the mediumship realm, is that they, in their mind, I've worked, this is them saying this, I've worked so hard to earn this seat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not giving this up to anybody. And then they don't pull anybody up with them.
Or I don't want to give out my information for fear that somebody else may use it and get a step ahead of me.
Correct. Yes. So that is something that I have encountered because it is the places where people who do my work are very few and far between. And the only thing that I can say how to prove is to be given the opportunity and the chance to prove themselves at that table. But I don't, in terms of how can we get law enforcement to change their mind, I don't know how to do that. I personally don't know how to do that.
Well, and this is one mantra I keep preaching about, and it's standards and training. If we all come together and come up with a plan together, and I think that even true paranormal researchers deserve a seat at that table also to come up with the answer. I mean, there's folks at me, I like to say that I'm as sensitive as a rock, but I still have something to offer in the sense of my investigatory background.
Yeah.
So, but all of us need a seat at that table. And I guess I'm asking you the impossible question. I do apologize for that. But the question is, how do we get there? How do we get beyond those egos? I've seen it in law enforcement, huge. I've seen it in law enforcement, but we've been able to transcend that a bit because now agencies do talk to each other about crimes. So we can solve crimes together a little bit better than we could 30 years ago.
Yeah.
If we can do it, if folks like us could do it, why can't folks in this realm do it, if you will? And that's, I guess, the question to go ahead.
And this is the point that I want to bring up is, the people who do my work, we're talking about local law enforcement, but the CIA, people at those highest, they are using psychics, highly trained psychics. Just the person who I trained with for remote viewing, he was hired by the government. So these very high level at the classification places within our own government and within our intelligence agencies are utilizing these people. So why isn't it trickling down into? And in regards to even, I work with a couple of CEOs for their companies, And I do preemptive, I help them with their hiring processes. Now I do it in the background. They'll send me a photo and they'll say, okay, this person is looking for a job here. And what I read through that photo is how that person works best, how their energy works best. And you know, I have saved one company from a massive lawsuit because what came through in this one individual was amazing person, really good worker, but you really need to triple check all your contracts because no matter what, this individual always wins and he doesn't care who he stomples on, right? So thank goodness that came through because a year later, they were in a contract dispute with this individual. So, you know, on the background, CEOs are using people with my abilities, but again, it's still hush hush. They don't want to advertise that they're using this work. But
yeah, I could see a lawsuit coming out of that. You mean you fired me because somebody thought I was this way? So I could see it. So how do you come up with the evidence? Obviously, in this case, they must have found a contract that he finagled somehow. But
yeah,
generally speaking, how do you prove? And that is an issue. I've got a dear friend who's a medium. We have this discussion all the time. How do you take what he's seeing legitimately, I feel, and prove that it's accurate? You can't.
You can't. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I mean, so I led a group through, I live here in Charleston, and we went through the historical jail cell. And now the people who I came through with were individuals that were wanting to fine tune their mediumship skills. And so, okay, we worked with them for 2 days, and then I put them into a place where there's a lot of active spirits residing there. Now, I had a lot of information coming through with a number of the spirits who were there, but again, it's not on historical record. You know, this woman who I encountered first, she was just a cook there. There's no record. So there's no way for me to prove what was coming through other than 2 other people could see her as well. And they're getting the same information from her. So we were essentially piggybacking information and developing out her story that she was sharing with this. But in terms of now, I know that there are technologies out there, and I'm sure you utilize those to go in there to capture sound. What is it? EVPs, capture that, to try to capture that. You can use the infrared to see if her energy is being picked up. But it is very, very hard to prove. And so then it comes back. And sometimes when I push back to people is, well, why do you need that additional information? How does it feel for you when I'm sharing this? Are you picking up any of the emotional? Because this woman was very, very heavily emotional. Are you picking up anything in the field around you? Even though you said you had the sensitivity of a rock, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm a very strong Pisces. I don't need that. I'm not a skeptic. I don't need to have that evidence base, but a number of my colleagues do.
Yes. And if you're going to survive in especially the legal world, you've got to have the evidence. And that's, I think, where the ethics part of this comes into play. And somehow that bridge has got to be built between how folks with your ability can see things and how that can be brought into the I don't want to say the real world, but the legal world. We'll put it to you that way, because I see a huge problem with that. And I see a lot of folks that maybe they have bad reasons for doing it, and maybe they just are trying and they don't realize they don't have all the answers, but they're giving people answers to their life's questions and possibly causing harm. So there's a whole ethical issue there. And so when you're talking about all these things with ethics, I think that's got to come into play. And I do agree, we all have to go sit at the same table to do this. Now, we got to take our next break, but when we come back, I want to talk to you about how you do this and where you go with it. I want to talk particularly about ley lines and the quantum realm. So be prepared for that. And folks, we'll be back with Abby Lynn right after these messages.
Are you looking for handcrafted quality that will stand the test of time? At Benchland Woodworking, Beautiful wood creations are built with skill, passion, and attention to detail. From custom furniture and home decor to unique handcrafted pieces, every project is designed to bring warmth, character, and lasting beauty to your home. Whether you're searching for a one-of-a-kind gift or a custom piece made just for you, Benchland Woodworking delivers craftsmanship you can see and quality you can trust. Visit benchlandwoodworking.ca. Benchland Woodworking, handcrafted quality, timeless design, built to last. That's benchlandwoodworking.ca.
And we're back with my guest, Abby LYNN, here on Paranormal Stakeout. So, Abby, we've established that you've had this gift since you were young, since you were a toddler. And now you've left your main job in the broadcast journalism world to pursue this career. How do you do it? How do you explain how you do it and how this psychic world works?
Well, I want to kind of go back a little bit talking about ethics. So when I brought up the individual that I saw for that company about the contract, I wasn't tapping into a future possibility. I saw what he had done in the past.
Okay.
And based on the past. And so this is where I'm going in with the ethics. So a lot of people like psychic, they want to give future. This is what's coming for you down the road. And they present it as though it is an absolute. And that ethically, a true psychic would never give you future, because we are creation beings here in this third dimension. Human beings, we're master creation beings, and the future is always being created in every moment, because we have free will. We can always choose differently. There's a multitude of pathways, and this will segue into the quantum. There are a multitude of pathways that you can choose. So if somebody is given a foresight, it is known that this is just a potential. It's not a guarantee that this is going to happen in your life, but this is something that your soul has chosen as a possibility. Now, whether you pursue that and go that way, that's up to you. Because again, we have free will down here, but there are a number of future possibilities. So for anyone to come up and say, well, this is my future sight and this is absolutely going to be happening, that is unethical, because that is a falsehood, because there would have to be a million different decisions that would all line up for that one potential outcome. That is just a possibility. And so through that quantum, this is how I work. When I am working either remote viewing and or getting psychic information and or through mediumship, we are going, and even I do quantum hypnosis. You're going up into that quantum realm. So I love watching the Marvel movies. They actually describe it very, very well. The Loki show and Doctor Strange. But you're going up to a place, and if we have the understanding that all of us come from God, from source, whatever you want to call it, right? We come from source. Essentially, Larry, you are the Larry version of me, and I'm the Abby LYNN version of you. If we want to go to the very, very beginning, the basic, right? We all started as light, as energy coming from source.
Hive mind.
I'm sorry?
Hive mind type of theory?
Not really. No, because I don't know. I don't like hive-mindedness. No, we're not hive-minded. We each one of us has a free will, but that's how we are connected. Now, each one of us become our own expression of an energy, but still at the very, very base, we are still light. We're still a frequency. And so when I'm going up into that quantum realm, now granted, you've given me permission. If we have a session or I'm working with you, I always ask, do I have permission to go and read your energy, which is me going up into the quantum and reading all that has been. When you've given me that okay and that permission, I'm essentially the reason why I can see it and hear it is because at the end of the day, we are all light. We're all energy. We all came from the same home. And that's how we are connected. That's why you can walk up to somebody and feel like, I feel like I know you. I feel like I've seen you before. And that's the word resonance. You have a resonance with certain people because whether you've had past lives or you are more connected in a frequency space with them. So that to me is the quantum. So when I'm remote viewing, I'm going up into that quantum space where there is no time. Everything that ever was has been. And all I'm simply doing is viewing what's already occurred because I'm going up into that space. If we're looking at the Akashic records, I'm just going up and tapping into another lifetime, which at the very base, we're all still the same light and frequency. And so I have permission to go in there and view that and see that.
Mm-hmm.
So but again, like everything, and Dolores Cannon wrote this beautifully, it's a convoluted universe. I'm just beginning, right, to understand all of this. And every year, every time I'm working, I'm learning something new. I always say, 8 years ago, I knew nothing compared to what I know now, right? So there are no concrete answers. Everyone is still learning and remembering.
Well, then maybe this is a question you just answered. How can put 5 mediums in a room?
Yeah.
All legit. But you get a different answer from all 5 as to what you've just described. Why is that?
Because we are each perceiving from our own lens.
Okay.
And that's why I always tell people, this is how I view it. This is how I see it. My colleagues work mediumship very differently. I have a very dear colleague. She doesn't see anything when she works. She feels it in her body. But she and I can get the same information, where I'm very visual. She feels the blue satchel around the waist, where I see the blue satchel around the waist with the petticoat. So the reason why you can get different answers is that each one of us are still working through our own human lens, and we filter different information in different ways. And we also have different frequencies. So just like a band of light, in different frequencies, you're seeing different colors. So different people can see different layers of reality.
Okay. The Akashic records, you just mentioned that before. That is certainly a source of debate, not only within our realm, but also the religious world.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that come from? Where do those records come from?
The Akashics, how I remember them and how it has been explained to me from not spirit but from guides, is the Akashic records is okay. So I like to give people visuals for movies. I love watching movies. I'm film and television major. In the movie Star Wars, where they go into the Jedi training camp, right? If you're inside and you see all those scrolls, right? All those pillars, and every ounce of history that ever was is in there. And that's why the Jedi go in there and they study. The Akashic records is very similar. Every expansion, I like to say, instead of a lifetime, it's an expansion of light, right? The soul's purpose is to experience and to learn and to expand and grow. And we can do that in multiple different dimensions. So every experience, lifetime that has ever been is held within those records. And when a soul chooses to have a physical experience, right? So when I chose to, okay, I'm going to come down and I'm going to live a life as Abby. These are the 3 things I want to work on. Maybe I want to work on relationships. I want to work on having healthier boundaries around myself, or I want to work on a deep level of being there for somebody unselfishly, right? Mm-hmm. Compassion. So I would go into the Akashics, and you are able to either pull from another lifetime where this particular lifetime, not yours, it might have been somebody else's, they showed the utmost level of compassion. So I'm going to take a little piece of that and pull that into my field to help me learn compassion. I have seen this in sessions where people can take, so this is when so many people have memories of being Cleopatra, right? That's always the feedback. Well, why do 20 people remember a lifetime as Cleopatra? You are able, just like in the movie Matrix, how they download into the back of the head and they download those abilities, you are able to do that. You are able to download either a lifetime. It doesn't mean that you lived it, but it feels the same way. You can download memories, you can download emotions, and you can download abilities.
You know what this sounds like to me? It sounds like part of this cloning thing that folks want to do. You know, they want a perfect child, so they want the perfect blonde-haired, blue-eyed with this athletic ability. Well, that's kind of what it's sounding like to me. When you're up there ready to go for this reincarnation, if you will, you get to pick and choose how you're coming back.
Where you're limited at. So I'm just talking about emotions. I'm talking about personality traits.
Okay.
But if you're talking about the physicality, which would be a cloning, where
right, let's use that as a kind of
where you're limited to is, you know, so when you play a video game and you're picking out your race car, right? You're like, okay, I want this to be red and I want those tires. You can pick your what's called this avatar, but you're limited to the genetics of the family line that you're going into, right? So like I want great grandma's nose, and I want, you know, my dad was a blonde, so I want his blonde hair. You have to stay within the genetic lineage of which your soul is coming down into. But even that has been explained to me, that you choose that in order to help you in some way in why you came down here.
To improve yourself, to do better than you did last time?
So I'll give you an example. Okay. I had a client come to me and they were already beginning to be on this path, but they questioned, like, why am I so tall? Like, I have big feet and I'm really tall. And like, why would I ever choose that? I don't. And what came through was because you knew that you were going to be going into rooms where you needed to be noticed and you needed to have a presence for what you are going to do, what you came down here to do, which was to be a strong orator. They wanted to write speeches and be a strong orator. So you chose through your lineage, the height that came from your dad's family, and, you know, because you have a stronger presence when you walk into a room. And that is why you chose that.
But that's the physicality.
That was the physicality. Yes.
I thought we couldn't choose that.
No. That is what you choose.
Okay. My mistake.
Yes. Yeah. No. You do choose that. So, you know, it's not a clone. It's not hive-mindedness, because again, you have free will. We have free will. You can choose differently. You can come down here and have all these perfect plans in line and come down here and just wipe it all and not do a dang thing that you came down here to do. Because when we come down here with amnesia and we forget it all.
Got it.
And that's part of the work, though. Earth is hard. This is one of the hardest places to have a lifetime in.
I couldn't disagree with that one. How do you know this, Abby? How do you know this, and how do you know this is good? Don't take this wrong, but how do you know this is the correct answer? How does Abby LYNN know this is the way it is?
Because this is what has been explained to me multiple times through a number of sessions over and over and over again. And again, I will reiterate, this is my lived experience, and you have the free will to not believe a word I'm saying.
Oh, true. And then that's not the issue. I guess what I'm getting at is going back to those 5 mediums in the room, telling you 5 different stories, all of them, however you've done it, you've confirmed as being legit. How do they give 5 different stories? Because this is pretty detailed about how we come and go.
Yeah.
I do find one similar vein there, and that's that there's that one basic energy that we come from. So that's the one that's different. But I think that's a question a lot of people ask. How can I believe them when they all 5 tell me different stories? So explaining it the way you did, maybe you'll make people understand. But then they have trouble maybe understanding which one is correct, which route is correct. So I can say that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, no. And to that, my only answer to them is always, well, this is what has rang true it rings true in my body. It's what has been shown and told to me for, for a number of years over hundreds of different clients. And at the end of the day, you don't have to believe a word that I'm saying.
Well, we all believe you, Abby. Don't worry about that. Okay, folks, we're going to take our next break. We'll be back for our last portion of the show here. So stay with us, Abby Lynn, on Paranormal Stakeout. See you after these messages.
Are you looking for handcrafted quality that will stand the test of time? At Benchland Woodworking, beautiful wood creations are built with skill, passion, and attention to detail. From custom furniture and home decor to unique handcrafted pieces, every project is designed to bring warmth, character, and lasting beauty to your home. Whether you're searching for a one-of-a-kind gift or a custom piece made just for you, Benchland Woodworking delivers craftsmanship you can see and quality you can trust. Visit benchlandwoodworking.ca. Benchland Woodworking, handcrafted quality, timeless design, built to last. That's benchlandwoodworking.ca.
And we are back with my guest, Abby Lynn, in our last section. We had so much to unpack here. I know I'm not going to get through all of it, but I do got to have a couple directions I do want to go.
Yep.
I understand you work some, or you, I don't know if that's the right word, but you deal with ley lines.
Mm-hmm.
I need to ask you about that because I have a big question mark in my head on what they are. I know that they were created by a guy named Watkins in the 1920s, and they were designed to map out trade routes between holy cities or important cities back in ancient times.
Yeah.
How did that turn into a spiritual energy concept?
So the way that and I know what you're talking about, and he didn't really create it. He tapped into it. He recognized what was there because again, he was traveling everywhere and he was noticing that these very historical sites, especially where they chose to do temples and or prayers and or rituals, that they were all lining up around the globe. And, there's no such thing as a coincidence within that, especially dealing with science. So the way that ley lines feel to me is a lot like the nervous system of the body. So it sends messages. And when, in terms of spirituality, when you go to a place where there are sacred temples or sites, the energy is just amplified. So it's essentially, the closer you get to the nervous system, the stronger the messages are going to be. And again, I am also learning this as I go too. I am seeking these places out to go and get my feet in the dirt, my hands in the dirt, my hands on the stone, and seeing what information, asking the question. I go in there like a journalist, and I do mediumship the same exact way. I go in and I ask why, and then I ask why again, and I ask why again, and ask why again. Because again, you are looking for answers. And whenever I can, so I've paired up, and I've started a company called Leyline Travel. I've paired up with an archaeologist. He's an archaeologist and a geologist and a historian. And so we go into these areas, and I go in as a remote viewing psychic, and I first feel what the land is sharing with me in these sites, in this heightened state. So it's much quicker and easier when you are on the grid to tap in, because our bodies are electric, right? Positive, negative ions. So when you become very grounded and still, just like the nervous system of the body, the messages are being sent. So I go into a place, I share what I'm being shown, what I am seeing, and then I have an archaeologist and historian to either back up to say, yes, actually, and then he gives a further explanation on that, or I'm helping him to connect dots where perhaps the historians had questions there, and or looking at a new way to look at history, or he's saying, nope, that's not anywhere where I've read that. And so I'm like, okay, well, let me tap in a little bit further and let me ask why.
But if the ley lines were the creation of a guy in the 20s, where's the connection that it holds that energy?
He didn't. He
ahead.
created the concept of them.
Okay.
So they were already there. He didn't create ley lines. The planet has a natural grid system around it.
Okay.
So just like when you're wiring the electricity of a house, right? So these ley lines were already there. He just discovered the pattern and said, oh wait, these are actually ley lines. These are scientifically proven lines around. Now, there are also a number of different grids around the planet. There's some grids are being removed, but there are different grids, and essentially what they're doing, it's holding in the frequency of the planet. And again, this is something that I am learning. I'm trying to tap in to understand. There's a certain point of communication that did happen, because when you go and look at some of these historical sites, you'll see the same languages, the same hieroglyphs there, the same images. But from our understanding, there's no way that these sites could have communicated because they couldn't get there by boat or by plane. So how do we have these locations across the world from each other that are having the same hieroglyphs, the same stories, the same historical patterns? Were they communicating? Did they communicate across this grid because they were built right along those lines? So that's a question that I like to go into these spaces and I'm asking right now. I'm learning more about them.
Okay. Let's get into another topic that you've expressed some interest in. Okay. And that's, you've talked about the UFOs.
Yes.
I know that you have an interest in cryptids, and particularly Bigfoot, Sasquatch.
Yes.
And then, of course, I'm sure at some point you've connected with ghosts, for lack of a better term.
Yes.
How are they all connected? Are they all connected?
When I was younger, I called it a life compartmentalized, because I had my ghost experiences over here, and then I had my UFO experiences, and I didn't know if I wanted to pay attention to the ghosts more or the UFOs more. But when I realized, the older I became, I understood that they were all connected, because it was just all dimensional. They're from a different dimension communicating with us. So I'm going to tackle Sasquatch first. So I will say Sasquatch came to me first. I didn't seek them out. They appeared to me. They started appearing to me. And the first where they were appearing to me was, they actually shared some information that they worked with the original Atlanteans. They were here prior. The Sasquatch were here prior. The one thing they do share, they are incredible medicine healers. They understand every plant and what it can do on our planet, master healers. And one thing that they shared with me was that they taught Atlanteans earth medicine. So that gives me the feeling that Atlanteans came here. And what do
you mean came here?
I feel like they must have came here to not already understand plant medicine and earth medicine.
Another planet, from another world. Is that what you're, okay.
Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
So, but the Sasquatch, and again, this is from what is being shared with me. There was an exchange in that the Sasquatch, in exchange for them teaching the Atlanteans earth medicine and how to heal the bodies, the Sasquatch were portal guardians. And the Sasquatch still do this all around the planet. They guard all of the portals, whether it's portals to go off the planet or portals for quick on our planet. So they do a lot of portal work. The Sasquatch also showed me that, yes, while they have been here for a very, very long time, they are also on another planet, and they can portal from that planet to here as well. But at the end of the day, anyone who's going out with the mentality of, I'm going to hunt Sasquatch, or, if you're in that mindset that I'm going to go hunt them and find them, you're never going to see them. They read our auras, they feel our hearts, they can phase in and out very easily from our viewing. But if you are a pure heart, a good soul person, in wanting genuine contact, and you're gentle with them, they will make their presence known.
Okay.
But they are vetting you. The minute you set foot into any of their space, they're vetting you the whole entire time, and they're watching you.
So kind of what I'm getting at this from your experience, whether it be ghosts, spirits from the past coming to visit us, aliens, Bigfoot, we're all kind of in the same place, just going through different doors to get there. Is that what I'm reading?
Yes, absolutely.
How do you feel then again about time, and time not being just the past, the present, the future are all and on the same level, if I'm saying that correctly, all happening at once? How do you feel about that? And is that part of this?
Absolutely. Time is a part of this, because different dimensions are able to manipulate time in a different way, time distortion. The movie Interstellar, Christopher Nolan did a really good job of trying to explain the time dilation. And that one scene where Matthew McConaughey is in essentially that grid worked space, and he could go and just gently manipulate time a little bit. That is how it feels for me when I go into these sacred areas. I'm essentially grounding in my energy, and I say it's like a record player, like boom, 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 boom. I'm quickly going down and sending my energy quickly down into layers and layers and layers of all time that has ever been or experienced there. And I'm essentially waiting for it, almost becomes this energetic hook, like, okay, my frequency has met up with here, and now I can feel and view this moment in time that has existed here. And that's what I'm viewing and seeing. That's one of the reasons why you could ask 5 different mediums, like, what do you see here? And you're gonna get 5 different answers, because we're tapping into different energies that have synced up with our frequency. But in terms of time is very convoluted. We experience time here on the 3rd dimension as past, present, future, very linear.
Well, would you agree that time is a man-made concept to begin with?
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, yeah. In the space of quantum, there is no such thing as time. Right. There's no such thing as time. Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yep. And that's one of the reasons why you can access different information, because you're going to a place where there is no time. It just is.
So how do we explain that, as far as, is that the explanation why we would see our dead Aunt Gertrude, who just showed up one night at the foot of our bed? Is that part of the same?
Well, my argument is dead Aunt Gertrude has never died. She just went to another dimension. She is still very much so alive. You are perceiving her as dead Aunt Gertrude because that is, number one, comfortable for you, because that's how you knew her as. And so that is why she would present herself to you as what you knew her as.
Do we ever shock them? Do they see us out of nowhere and say, "Whoa, I've seen a ghost on the other side"? Does that happen?
Yes, I have seen that. I have absolutely have spirit that, and I, it's they're living spirit, that when they see that I can see them, they have a little freak out moment. And sometimes they'll go and like hide behind a door, or I've had one hide behind a pillar. And, and I just kind of chuckle in my mind, because it's very telepathic, thought. I'm like, I can still see you. It's okay. But they're very surprised when someone can see them.
Yes. This is definitely a trippy conversation. And I like how you brought Interstellar. I think that movie does tell a lot.
Yeah.
Abby, if folks wanted to get a hold of you, find out a little bit more about you, and maybe even work with you, how would they do that?
The best place is abbylynn.co, and it is .co. It's not .com, it's .co. Or Leyline Travel. You can find me through leylinetravel.com as well. If anyone's interested in going to the ley lines and experiencing that, my next one is Scotland. So we're going where Avalon and Druids are at.
Oh, so that's an actual trip. I mean, that's a travel agent type trip. Oh, that's very, very interesting. Heading to Scotland to do that.
Yes.
Okay. What are your plans for the future?
My plans for the future are to continue to, I love hosting retreats, holding space for people who are ready to gently dip into their intuition, wanting to expand in that. Again, I like teaching practical tools that you can use in everyday life, because not everyone here is to be woo. It's, okay, we can learn this, but how does that help me in my everyday life with my job and groceries and family? And
so, folks, you've got the addresses to get a hold of Abby if you need to. And I also want to mention that if you do want to check more about my team and what we do, you can find more about us at IndianRiverHauntings.com. You can also check us out on YouTube at the @ Indian River Hauntings 2341 to see some of the work that we do. And of course, always here on the CamCon Broadcast Network, you can see all of our shows. And there's a lot of other great shows on there too. So I encourage you to check out, go to xzbn.net and check out all the great shows on the CamCon network. And with that, Abby, thank you for being with us tonight. Folks, thank you for joining us. And until we meet again, take care, love your family, and we'll see you on the other side. Have a good night, folks.